Hello, this is part 5, the differences between Oracle database and SQL Server database. In this session, we will see the differences between identity column and sequence. In Microsoft SQL Server, we are using identity column to increase the value, and it is a auto increased value. The same thing we are using in Oracle with the help of sequence. Let's understand what is auto increase value. In our example, we are using HRDB. So HR database having employees. So each employee having a unique employee ID to identify the employees. Now let's say the recent employee ID is 100. When a new employee after 100 is joining, no need HR has to go and check what is the previous employee ID. Instead of, they can set a identity column in Microsoft SQL Server, similarly sequence in Oracle, so that the database engine will remember the previous value and it will add by 1 or the specific value which we are providing in the identity field. So let's see an example how exactly this is working. So let's jump to Microsoft SQL Server. Now I will create a table called EMP with the 3 fields. One is employee ID, first name and last name. Here employee ID I will set as the identity column, so that each time when new employee is added to this table, employee ID will automatically increment by 1. So let's create table EMP ID int, then identify of 1 comma 1. Here the first value is start from 1 and the second one is it is incremented by 1. So next column is first name, that is varchar of 50 characters. Then the last name, that also I will keep as varchar of 50. Now our table script is ready. I will execute this EMP create table script so that one table will be created in our database HRDB. Table is created. Now let's try by inserting one value to this EMP table. I am writing script here, insert into table the first column, that is the name, first name and second name. First name is Ravi and second name I have entered as Kumar, and I will keep a blank for employee ID, and I just executed the query. So if I run select star from EMP, you can see here one row is inserted with the employee ID as 1, but we have not entered 1 here. This 1 is entered from identity column. Let us check by passing a employee ID value in the insert statement, and we are getting an error. Identity value is not allowed from an insert statement. That means the database engine will automatically pass this value using identity column. It will not allow if we are inserting manually. Now I will add another name, just alter the name so that you can see here another row inserted by incremented by 1 employee ID. Now let us drop this table and we will change the identity value starting from 15 and incremented by 2. That means it will start from 15, then it will 17, 19, like that. So I will make it here the name as again Ravi. So let's insert this statement. One row is inserted. We can see what exactly the value is inserted now. Here you can see employee ID is 15. That means it started with 15 and incremented by 2. So let us insert another row to verify what exactly the next value. Here you can see the next employee ID is generated as 17. Let us move to Oracle and let's try to achieve the same using sequence. So I am creating here table, create table EMP, and here the syntax for employee ID is different. In Microsoft SQL Server we tried as integer, but here it is number. Then remaining fields are same. First name is varchar 2 of 50 and last name varchar 2 of 50, and let's execute this script to create the table. Our EMP table is created in Oracle. Let us try to create the sequence now in Oracle. So the syntax is create sequence, the name of the sequence. I will give here EMP underscore EMP ID. That means this sequence I am using only for EMP table for the column EMP ID. That's why for easily identification I have written like this. After that name you have to write the start with, like which number. I am starting with 1, then incremented by how many numbers, incremented by 1. So this sequence is created now. Let us commit once. Now we will see how this sequence we can use in the insert statement. I am writing insert statement to insert one row inside the EMP table. So the syntax is insert into EMP. Then I will mention the column names emp id, first name, last name. Remember, when we inserted one row in Microsoft SQL Server, we have not added emp id in the insert statement. But in Oracle, we have to add it because we are using sequence. That's why I'm writing first name as Ravi, second name is Kumar. Now I have to pass a value here for employee ID. That is the sequence value which we have created. So the syntax is I have to add the sequence name dot next to val. That means next value. Now one row is inserted. Let us see what exactly the inserted value is. Yeah, inserted value is 1 because our sequence starts with 1. So that is the syntax. Sequence name dot next val. Now we will do one thing to test the sequence. Start with 15 and incremented by 2. For we have to drop the sequence here. The command is drop sequence name. Now the sequence is dropped. We have committed. We will create a sequence again with starting with 15. Now if I insert the another value to emp table, you can see the inserted value, the employee ID is 15. Now if I try to add another value, that time the employee ID will become 17 because sequence is incrementing by 2. So this is the main difference to identity column and sequence. Summary of the session. To create an increment value in Microsoft SQL Server, we are using identity column, and the syntax is while creating table, the column type should be integer, and after that identity of 1, 1. That means the first value is starts with and the second value is the incremented by. Similarly, in Oracle, we have to create a table first and after that we have to create a sequence. Here also the syntax tells we have to start with 1 and incremented by 1. And in insert statement in Microsoft SQL Server, no need to add any column ID. The database engine automatically will consider, but for Oracle we have to use the sequence name dot next value. Identity column is a property for one table and cannot be shared with other tables, but in sequence is defined by user and it can be used in any number of tables. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.